Elon Musk, the visionary entrepreneur renowned for his groundbreaking ideas, was unrecognizable in his current attire. He donned a worn leather jacket, gray pants with torn knees, a thick, false mustache and eyebrows, and a dark green hooded cap pulled low over his forehead. His mud-streaked sneakers completed the disguise. Today, Elon wasn't a billionaire tech mogul. He was just an ordinary man seeking to observe humanity in its raw, unfiltered form. Ahead of him stood Cedar Roastery, a cozy coffee shop nestled in the heart of the city. Known for its welcoming atmosphere and artisanal lattes, the shop was the perfect setting for Elon's experiment. He wanted to see how people treated someone who appeared to have little to offer. Would kindness prevail, or would judgment cloud their interactions? As Elon approached the entrance, his reflection in the glass door looked nothing like his usual polished self. He took a deep breath, savoring the anonymity, and stepped inside. The warm scent of freshly brewed coffee and pastries greeted him. Conversations buzzed softly around the room, but as Elon entered, the atmosphere subtly shifted. Near the counter, Derek, a young man with an easy smile and genuine warmth, was busy attending to customers. Beside him stood Sophie, another barista, who exuded impatience as she scrolled through her phone. The stark contrast between the two employees was immediately apparent. Elon stepped up to the counter, his posture calm but purposeful. Derek greeted him with a bright, "Good morning. What can I get for you?" "A latte, please," Elon replied, his voice steady. Before Derek could respond, Sophie muttered under her breath, "This should be interesting," barely disguising her disdain. Elon's eyes flicked to her briefly, but he chose to let it slide. Derek, unfazed, quickly began preparing the order. "Coming right up," he said cheerfully, focusing entirely on the task. As Elon waited, he observed the interactions around him. A young woman approached the counter, her face alight with excitement as she inquired about the shop's new seasonal drinks. Derek engaged her warmly, offering suggestions and sharing his favorite choices. In contrast, Sophie sighed audibly and avoided eye contact, making the woman visibly uncomfortable. A few moments later, Derek returned with Elon's latte. "Here you go," he said, sliding the cup across the counter with a friendly smile. "Hope you enjoy it." "Thank you," Elon said, meeting Derek's gaze. "I can tell you put effort into everything you do." Derek's cheeks reddened slightly. "I just try to treat everyone the way I'd like to be treated," he replied modestly. As Elon took a seat by the window, he continued to watch. A father and his young daughter approached the counter next. The little girl clutched a handful of coins and whispered something to her father. "She'd like a cookie," the father said, smiling. Sophie barely glanced at them. "That's not enough," she said curtly, her tone void of empathy. The little girl's face fell, and her father began to reach for his wallet. Before he could, Derek stepped in. "Don't worry about it," he said kindly, covering the difference from his own tip jar and handing the girl her cookie. Her face lit up, and her father nodded gratefully. Elon watched the exchange with quiet admiration. The small act of kindness felt monumental in a world where judgment often took precedence over compassion. It was moments like these that reaffirmed his belief in humanity's potential for good. As the morning wore on, Elon finished his latte and rose to leave. He made his way back to the counter, where Derek was busy cleaning. Sophie, still engrossed in her phone, barely acknowledged his presence. "Derek," Elon began, his tone warm yet deliberate. "You're a rare kind of person. Keep treating people the way you do. It makes all the difference." Derek's brow furrowed slightly, unsure of how to respond. "Thank you," he said quietly. Reaching into his jacket pocket, Elon pulled out a sleek business card and handed it to him. Derek's eyes widened as he read the name printed on it. Wait, Elon Musk? Derek stammered, disbelief etched on his face. Elon smiled, the disguise now a distant memory. That's right. I've been observing today, and I've seen how you treat others. Call this number tomorrow. I think I might have an opportunity for you. Before Derek could respond, Sophie scoffed audibly. Are you serious? He's just a barista. Why would you care? Elon's gaze shifted to Sophie, his tone measured but firm. Because he's more than just a barista. He's someone who makes a difference, even in small ways. That's the kind of person the world needs more of. With that, Elon turned and walked out of Cedar Roastery, leaving Derek holding the card with trembling hands. Outside, the cool air felt invigorating as Elon reflected on the day. He had come searching for humanity's truth, and found it in the simple yet profound actions of a kind-hearted barista. As Derek stood behind the counter, staring at the card, a surge of hope coursed through him. Little did he know, his life was about to change in ways he could never have imagined. The following morning, Derek woke up earlier than usual. The sleek business card sat on his bedside table, glinting in the morning light. His heart raced as he stared at the name. Elon Musk. It felt surreal. Could this really be happening? He hesitated, the weight of the moment pressing down on him. What if it was a prank? What if he wasn't good enough? But then he remembered Elon's parting words, words that carried a rare authenticity. He picked up his phone and dialed the number. Each ring felt like an eternity, but finally, a calm voice answered. Innovate Motors Hub. How may I assist you? Hi, Derek began nervously. This is Derek from Cedar Roastery. I was given this number by Mr. Musk. There was a brief pause on the other end before the receptionist's tone shifted. Ah, yes, Derek. Mr. Musk mentioned you. He's asked for you to come in today. Can you be here at 1 p.m.? Derek's throat went dry. Yes, of course. Thank you. The hours leading up to the meeting felt like a blur. Derek wore his best shirt, which wasn't much, but he made sure it was neatly pressed. His mind raced with possibilities as he made his way to Innovate Motors Hub, the sleek, futuristic headquarters looming ahead of him like a symbol of untapped potential. Inside, Derek was met with a whirlwind of activity. Employees hustling between meetings, state-of-the-art electric vehicles on display, and digital screens showcasing cutting-edge projects. He felt both awestruck and out of place. A friendly HR representative greeted him and guided him to a conference room. Moments later, the door opened, and Elon walked in, his presence commanding yet approachable. Gone was the disguise from the previous day. He was back in his signature look, sharp, confident, and every bit the visionary Derek had seen on TV. Derek, Elon said, extending his hand. It's good to see you. Derek shook his hand, his voice barely above a whisper. Thank you for this opportunity, Mr. Musk. Call me Elon, he replied with a warm smile. I'm not here to intimidate you. I'm here because I see potential in you. Over the next hour, Elon asked Derek about his life, his family, his aspirations, and the challenges he faced. Derek spoke openly, sharing stories about working at Cedar Roastery to support his younger siblings and his dream of becoming an engineer, which had been put on hold due to financial constraints. You've got the heart and determination, Elon said, leaning forward. Those are qualities no degree can teach. I want to offer you a chance to work with us. We're launching a program to develop affordable, eco-friendly vehicles for underserved communities. I think you'd be a great fit. Derek's eyes widened. Me? But I don't have the qualifications. Elon waved off his concern. Skills can be taught. Character cannot. I saw how you handled yourself yesterday, the way you treated people with kindness and respect. That's the foundation of a great team player. Tears welled up in Derek's eyes as he nodded. I won't let you down. I know you won't, Elon said, handing him an orientation packet. You start next week. When Derek left Innovate Motors Hub that day, he felt like he was walking on air. The opportunity was more than he had ever dreamed of, but it wasn't just about the job. It was about the validation that his character and integrity mattered. At Cedar Roastery, word of Derek's meeting with Elon spread quickly. Sophie, who had scoffed at him the previous day, couldn't hide her disbelief. Why him? She muttered to a coworker. He's just a barista. But the other employees saw it differently. Because he's genuine, one replied, and maybe that's exactly what the world needs. Derek's first day at Innovate Motors Hub was a whirlwind. He was introduced to a team of engineers working on sustainable transportation solutions. Despite feeling overwhelmed, he threw himself into the work, determined to prove that Elon's faith in him wasn't misplaced. As the days turned into weeks, Derek's contributions began to shine. He brought a fresh perspective to the team, often suggesting practical solutions based on his experiences. His humility and work ethic earned him the respect of his colleagues, and Elon continued to mentor him, offering guidance and encouragement. Back at home, Derek's family couldn't believe the transformation. His younger siblings beamed with pride as he shared stories about his new job. You're our hero, his little brother said one night, and Derek realized that this opportunity wasn't just changing his life, it was changing theirs too. But Derek never forgot where he came from. One evening, as he sat at his desk drafting ideas for an innovative community car-sharing program, he thought about the father and daughter at Cedar Roastery. Their brief encounter had reminded him of the power of small acts of kindness, and he was determined to pay it forward. Derek's journey was just beginning, but one thing was certain. His life had changed forever, all because someone took the time to see beyond the surface. If you've ever experienced a moment that changed your life, share it in the comments below. We'd love to hear your story. Derek's new role at Innovate Motors Hub began as an adventure filled with hope and challenges. Every day, he stepped into the gleaming headquarters with a mixture of awe and determination. But what Derek didn't yet realize was how profoundly his journey would inspire others and how his quiet humility would ripple out, touching lives in unexpected ways. On a rainy afternoon a few weeks into his job, Derek found himself in a brainstorming session with some of the brightest minds in the industry. They were tasked with designing a program to make electric vehicles accessible to low-income families. Derek sat quietly at first, overwhelmed by the expertise in the room. But then he remembered Elon's words. Skills can be taught, but character cannot. Taking a deep breath, he spoke up. What if we partnered with community centers to create shared electric vehicle hubs? Families could reserve cars for a few hours, making them affordable and practical. His voice trembled slightly as he explained the concept. The room fell silent, and for a moment, Derek feared he had overstepped. But then, one of the senior engineers nodded thoughtfully. That's brilliant, she said. It's practical and impactful. Let's explore it. As the meeting continued, Derek felt a warmth spread through him, a quiet validation that he belonged, that his ideas mattered. Later that evening, Elon stopped by his desk, his expression unreadable. You did good today, Elon said simply, clapping Derek on the shoulder. Keep thinking like that. Derek's heart swelled, but it wasn't just pride. It was gratitude. He was no longer just a barista. He was part of something bigger, something meaningful. Back at home, Derek's family began noticing changes. His siblings no longer worried about their next meal, and for the first time, Derek could afford to replace his mother's worn-out car. One evening, he surprised her with the keys to a modest but reliable electric vehicle. She stared at him in disbelief, tears spilling down her cheeks. "Derek, how?" she stammered, her voice choked with emotion. "You've always been there for us, Mom," Derek said, his own voice trembling. "It's my turn to take care of you." They embraced tightly, the rain softly pattering against the windows as Derek's younger siblings watched with wide, teary eyes. It was a moment of triumph, but also a reminder of how far they had come together. Meanwhile, the impact of Derek's kindness extended beyond his family. Word of his journey spread throughout Innovate Motors' hub, inspiring others to view their work through a lens of empathy and inclusion. One colleague, Samantha, approached Derek during a lunch break. "You don't know this," she began hesitantly, "but your story encouraged me to finally take a chance. I signed up to mentor kids in underserved neighborhoods. I figured, if you could change so much starting with a single act of kindness, maybe I can too." Derek smiled, humbled by her words. "It's not about where you start," he said quietly. "It's about what you choose to do along the way." Yet, not everyone was as inspired. Sophie, the former co-worker who had dismissed Derek at Cedar Roastery, found herself spiraling. After being transferred to a smaller cafe, she often thought back to the day Elon Musk had walked in disguised, and how she had failed to see beyond his appearance. Regret gnawed at her, but instead of wallowing, she made a choice. One afternoon, Sophie walked into Innovate Motors' hub, clutching a handwritten letter. She asked to see Derek, unsure if he would even agree to meet her. When Derek entered the lobby, she stood awkwardly, wringing her hands. I came to apologize," Sophie said, her voice barely above a whisper. "I judged you, and I was wrong. You didn't deserve that." Derek studied her for a moment, then smiled softly. "It takes courage to admit when you're wrong," he said. "Thank you for saying that." Sophie handed him the letter, her hands shaking. "I wrote this because I needed you to know. Your kindness made me realize I need to change." Derek nodded, tucking the letter into his pocket. "We all make mistakes," he said. "What matters is what we do next." As the months passed, Derek's project gained momentum. The shared electric vehicle hubs were piloted in several cities, providing affordable and eco-friendly transportation to families who needed it most. Testimonials poured in from people whose lives had been transformed by the initiative. A single mother wrote about how she could now commute to her job without worrying about bus schedules. An elderly man shared how the program allowed him to visit his grandchildren for the first time in years. Derek kept every letter, reading them late at night when self-doubt crept in. Each one reminded him of why he had taken this path and of the ripple effect that one act of kindness could create. 1 year after that fateful day at Cedar Roastery, Derek stood on a stage at a company event, addressing a crowd of Innovate Motors employees, community leaders, and beneficiaries of the program. Elon Musk stood in the wings, watching with quiet pride. "This isn't about me," Derek began, his voice steady but emotional. "This is about the power of seeing beyond what's on the surface. One small act of kindness can ignite a chain reaction. And sometimes, the simplest gestures, a smile, a helping hand, can change lives, including your own." The audience erupted into applause, some wiping away tears. Derek stepped back, his heart full, as Elon joined him on stage. "You've done well," Elon said, his voice low but firm. "I knew you would." As the applause swelled around them, Derek looked out at the crowd and felt something he hadn't experienced in years: unshakable confidence. He had found his purpose, and it all began with a latte and a moment of kindness. What did you think of this part of Derek's story? Let us know in the comments below. And remember, no matter how small it may seem, every kind act can leave a lasting impact. The Innovate Motors annual gala was a dazzling affair. The venue sparkled with lights, its grandeur befitting a company that thrived on vision and ingenuity. Among the polished executives and industry leaders stood Derek, his simple yet confident demeanor a sharp contrast to the opulence around him. Tonight was about celebrating achievements, but for Derek, it was about something far deeper, the culmination of a journey he never imagined taking. As the evening unfolded, Derek found himself surrounded by colleagues and supporters, all eager to share their admiration for his work. The shared electric vehicle hub project had become a resounding success, rolling out to cities nationwide and changing countless lives. Yet, despite the accolades, Derek's thoughts wandered back to where it all began. Standing near the edge of the room, Derek spotted Elon Musk, his mentor, and the man who had seen something in him when no one else did. Elon approached him with a glass of sparkling water in hand and a knowing smile. "You look like you're carrying the weight of the world," Elon said, his voice light but sincere. Derek chuckled softly. "Just reflecting. It's been a whirlwind." "It's been a testament to what happens when the right people meet at the right time," Elon replied, "and when those people act with courage and heart." Derek nodded, his gratitude evident. "None of this would have been possible without you." Elon's expression softened. "I may have opened a door, Derek, but you're the one who walked through it. And you didn't just walk. You built a bridge for others to follow." The evening reached its peak when Elon took the stage, his commanding presence drawing the attention of everyone in the room. He spoke about Innovate Motors' achievements, the importance of sustainability, and the company's commitment to community impact. But then his tone shifted. "Tonight, I want to share a story," Elon began, his eyes scanning the audience. "It's not about technology or innovation. It's about humanity." He recounted the day he walked into Cedar Roastery, disguised and seeking to understand the raw essence of human kindness. He spoke of Derek's warmth and empathy, the stark contrast between his actions and the judgments of others. "That day I saw something rare," Elon said, his voice filled with emotion. "I saw someone who didn't just do his job, but lived his values. And that someone is standing here with us tonight." Elon gestured toward Derek, inviting him to the stage. The room erupted into applause as Derek, overwhelmed but composed, made his way up. The spotlight felt heavy, but the pride in the faces of his colleagues and family gave him strength. Standing before the crowd, Derek took a moment to gather his thoughts. His voice, steady but laden with emotion, filled the room. "A year ago, I was just a barista," he began. "I served lattes, cleaned tables, and tried to brighten people's days in small ways. I never thought those small moments could lead to something so big." He paused, his gaze sweeping the room. "But what I've learned is this: kindness is never small. It has a way of growing, of creating connections and opportunities we can't always see at the time. And it's not about grand gestures, it's about seeing people, really seeing them, and choosing to act with compassion." Tears glistened in the eyes of some audience members as Derek continued. "This project, these hubs, they're not just about cars or convenience. They're about hope. They're about proving that when we come together, we can create something that lifts us all." The applause was thunderous, but Derek wasn't finished. "Tonight, I want to thank someone who reminded me of the power of kindness. Elon Musk, your belief in me changed my life. But I also want to thank every single person who has supported this journey, from my family to my colleagues to the communities we serve. This isn't just my story, it's ours. As Derek stepped off the stage, he was met with a standing ovation. His mother, sitting in the front row, wiped away tears as she clutched a photo of their old cramped apartment, a symbol of how far they had come. Later that night, as the gala wound down, Derek found himself outside, gazing at the city lights. Elon joined him, a quiet camaraderie settling between them. "What's next for you?" Elon asked, his tone curious. Derek smiled, his eyes reflecting both exhaustion and determination. "More bridges," he said simply. "There's always more work to do." Elon nodded, a glimmer of pride in his eyes. "You'll do great things, Derek. You already have." Years later, Derek's name became synonymous with innovation and kindness. The shared electric vehicle hubs expanded internationally, benefiting millions. But Derek never forgot his roots. Every Christmas, he returned to Cedar Roastery, not as a stranger, but as a friend. He ordered his favorite latte, leaving a generous tip and a handwritten note for the baristas, reminding them of the impact of small acts of kindness. And every time he passed a father and daughter sharing a cookie or a barista going the extra mile, he smiled, knowing that kindness, no matter how small, could change the world. What did you think of Derek's incredible journey? Let us know in the comments. If this story inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more heartfelt stories. Together, we can make the world a kinder place.